Hello, and I am so excited today to be talking to a questioner, Jordan Harbinger. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I'm so excited to be talking to you. I have known you for a very long time.
hmm
Jordan is a Wall Street lawyer turned podcaster extraordinaire. He has an enormously popular, award-winning podcast called The Jordan Harbinger Show, where he asks people questions.
hmm
So
So
that's a good fit.
it's all
Uh,
starting to make sense. Yeah.
Well, Jordan, I'm really interested to talk to you about being a questioner. So questioners, of course, question all expectations. They'll do something if they think it makes sense. So they're making everything an inner expectation and they
hmm
resist things that don't make sense to them. So I have to ask, like, do people ever tell you that you ask too many questions?
I mean, I wouldn't say too many questions, but I definitely remember now teachers getting annoyed with me, my parents. Well, my mom's a teacher, so she was
Mhm.
more like, oh, good, he cares about things. But my dad, even now, he just will be like, I don't know. Why are you asking? And when I was a kid, his version of that was just saying to whatever I said, which is bad because I remember becoming an adult and thinking, or a young adult, and going, oh, yeah, this is that way. Like a quarter of an hour is 25 minutes past the hour. And they're like, no, it's 15 minutes, whoever. And I said,
Oh,
no, because I asked my dad, and then I would go, oh, yeah, he wasn't listening. He just said yes because he was like sick of answering questions. So I had all these misconceptions as a young adult because my
oh.
dad was just like, he would just unplug, check out, and be like, yeah, whatever, to everything. So yes, in a way they told me, but now I'm like, I wish they told me instead of just ignoring me. But yes, I've heard that, some variation of that.
Well, and do you ever get that as an adult? Because sometimes an experience that questioners have is they feel like they're just asking very sensible questions, which is like, why are we doing this? Why are you using that software? Why are we trying to meet this deadline? And they get frustrated because they feel like other people just sort of like go with it too easily, kind of like lemmings. And they're
Yeah.
like, why aren't you asking? Does this make any sense? Why would I listen to you? Why would I do what you asked me? Do you ever
Yeah,
get
there's people
frustrated?
who like take it personally, right? They're not like you ask too many questions, but I'll say, "Oh, why do you use this software to do that?" And they'll look at me and go, "Because this is the software that we use." And I'm like, "Oh, I get it. You're insulted now." Instead because but I'm not like, "Why do you use that software?" There's no loaded judgment in there, but I think non-questioners or people who are not used to dealing with questioners, they just go, oh, well, if you're questioning me, it's because you don't agree or you don't trust me or you're judging that I'm doing it this way when, frankly, it's none of your effing business why we use this software. It's because it's my company, it's my business. I remember one friend of mine, a good guy, he got quite upset when I asked him why he did his sales funnel a certain way. And he's like, because it's my business, Jordan, because it's my business. And I was just thinking, ooh, yikes, touched a nerve, did I? And he didn't want anybody to ask him any questions. He just wanted people to execute on stuff. And I kind of get it, but also there's a better way. Don't you want to know? Guess not.
Well, see, this is a problem that I think you put your finger on something that questioners often find, which is that others become defensive.
Yes.
They behave thin-skinned. They feel like like they're being interrogated
hmm
or being that their judgment is being called into question. When a questioner is really like, I'm just asking, like, why did you pick this restaurant? Or
Right.
why did you pick this? Why did you set up your sales funnel this way?
Right.
I really just want to know. So that's interesting.
Well, think about it. When you say, why did you pick this restaurant? It could be a real question, but there's like a 50-50 chance that it's this place sucks. Why are we eating here? Right.
Well, some people do use questions as kind of an indirect way to criticize, and I
Right.
think questioners get caught in that.
That's true.
And I do think sometimes questioners, and I wonder if you felt this, like sometimes they can be a little bit curt, and they are kind of like, why would you pick this software? Like
hmm
sometimes they're like, why people get up to such nonsense? They sometimes do have a little bit of an air of like,
Well, the reason
explain
for
this.
that, though, is because, hey, with 5 minutes of research, you would have found that this software sucks. Did you not even look? I mean, you just bought the first thing that showed up in your Google AdWords results. You didn't compare anything. You did no research on this. What are you doing? And they go, well, I just bought the first thing that showed up on Amazon or whatever. And so for us questioners, we're like, oh my gosh, why would you? This is terrible. This is why did you do that? And luckily, I think my wife is also a questioner because she loves doing research. And it's like, I'll go, yeah, let's go get some Indian food. And she's like, great, where? And I go, I don't know. I don't care. And she's like, okay, well, I just did a top 5 Yelp and here are our options. But this one has slightly better reviews, but only if you want a chicken dish. And I'm just like, oh, okay, fine. So she's the same way. But I also, looking back after using your framework, I look at other relationships that I've had and I'm like, oh yeah, so-and-so ex-girlfriend did not appreciate the questions, at all. And every time I asked questions about things that were important, like core values topics, like religion, for example, it was like 9 times out of 10, a fight ensues as a result, because she was thinking, why are you questioning why we go to church? Why are you questioning why we believe in God or something like that? And I'm like, geez, I'm just asking. Like, I want to know. It's kind of important. But they're like, you don't ask that question to my parents. Meanwhile, my wife, if you don't ask questions, she's like, you don't even care. You don't even care. You're not even thinking about it.
Interesting. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I have another friend who's a questioner, married to a questioner, and her first husband was not a questioner. And she said she found it a tremendous relief because she felt like he had the same high standards that she had. So if she could then delegate certain decisions, she could trust his judgment, because she knew that they both had really did, like you said, really did the research. And so they could kind of divide it up. Whereas she feels like with some people, like you say, they just are making these decisions without enough justification. And so that you don't trust it. Now, and I would say this in terms of work relationships, that sometimes questioners kind of want to be the boss, because they're like, I don't really trust anybody else's judgment. I don't really trust anybody to do the research the way I would do it. And to really come up with the justifications that I demand. Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah. I get that, but of course, as you know, being a business owner, that is a horrible way to run a business. Like, oh, I just have to do everything myself because I'm the only person that can do it.
It's so limiting.
You're so in trouble if you have to do that. So what I started doing was hiring people that of course, you hire people you can trust. But one of the things that you can do with new interns, employees, whatever you want to call it, team members, you can say, do this, and then come up with an idea or a solution, and then instead of saying, what did you come up with? Oh, great, that doesn't look good. You can say, take me through your decision-making process. And then when they're like, oh, okay, I found this. All right, well, how did you choose this hotel for the event? Well, I searched on Priceline and I filtered by price. Okay, you're not suitable for this task. But if they're like, oh, I sorted by price and obviously availability, but then I called each venue and I asked how many years of experience and do they have an on-site event planner? And then I asked for photos of the event space, and then I got photos of each of the rooms, and then I picked these 3, but then this place booked up really quick, so we didn't get that, and then I picked these other 2, and then I looked at food reviews online, and this place has the best restaurant. And I'm like, yes, that is good. But because now I've got I see how the sausage is made, right? They've opened up the kimono, so to speak. So I know that their decision-making process is as good or better than mine. But if you just try and look at the results, as a questioner, we never know how they got that result. So it scares us. Even if it's the best result, we're like, oh, but could I have done slightly better? Could I have gotten a 1% better result? But so you have to have them show you the process, or you're just going to always assume that you can do better.
Well, and that's exactly something that sometimes questioners find to be kind of a diplomatic way of questioning people's decisions, which is to say, I would love to understand your process. Like, why did you pick this software? I would love to know why you chose this software, because I think if I understand where you see the value for the company coming for this software, then I'm going to be able to make better use of it. So it's more like, take me through it. And then, like you say, you can evaluate someone's process when you see the steps they went through. Yeah,
because if the process is, oh, well, I was using it at my old company, so I'm just familiar with it, you're like, okay, it's not a terrible reason, but it's not a good reason.
Right.
You know, or it's the cheapest one. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, why is it the cheapest one? You know, what's going on there?
Now, something that some questioners experience, but not all, is they don't like answering questions. They don't mind teaching, but it's like they often, and it's ironic, people point it out, but they kind of, more than the average person, don't like to answer questions and kind of get annoyed when people ask them questions.
Such an
Do you notice that? Like with my husband, who's a questioner, it's extremely noticeable. I noticed it well before I knew about questioners. Yeah. But maybe you don't have this.
No, I do. Oh. And it's an interesting observation, because I find it doesn't make any sense to me why I would have a problem answering questions, because people who ask questions are obviously, they're interested, and like, I'm asking questions. So it seems like a ridiculous double standard. You know, someone will go, oh, how did you get into that? And some of it is, I've answered this a lot of times, but other times, yeah, I really can't say why I get so irritated answering questions, even sometimes good ones. But I'm also, you know what it is? I'm also judging the question. If I find that the question is low effort or like easily Googleable, it immediately identifies as this is just small talk, which is like, okay, small talk has its place. It's not a waste of time. You have to do it when you're getting to know someone. But there's a part of me that's like, are you just filling the silence right now? You know, why am I the one who has to fill the silence? Why can't you come up with something that's an input? Why are you dragging something out of me? That's, you know, that's how I feel about it. Why? Yeah, so I respond with questions that I don't ask, obviously.
Well, it's a very noticeable pattern. So,
That makes
and
sense.
it's sort of a mystifying pattern, but so you experience it too. Now, another pattern that is sometimes questioners will show, but not all questioners again, is analysis paralysis, which is when the desire for perfect information and the kind of the love of research and kind of trying to drive to efficiency and customization makes it hard to make a decision or to move forward. So it's can be frustrating for the questioner and for the people around the questioner. Do you ever have that? But some questioners don't really have that.
I don't really feel like I have that, but I also do find that if I'm evaluating multiple options, I want all of them, even if that's not possible. But I don't have a problem choosing. I will pick one, but I kind of want to not have to pick just one. You know, and so that does result in some over ordering at restaurants occasionally. And I have to do things like, and that's sort of a low hanging fruit example, but what I have to do is go, okay, I'm going to order this, but I kind of want to try that. Does anybody else want this or any of the other options? And then my wife will often be like, oh, I kind of was thinking of that. And then we're like, great, then we get both, you know, and we're always trying to team up on that. But if no one does, then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to get the chicken tikka masala. You can tell what I had for lunch. But if it's really, really good and it's small, I'm going to get the butter chicken and then just take half home. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of getting both. And then I'm full and then I never order the butter chicken. But like, I have to sort of lie to myself and say like, you're not taking any options off the table. You can still get it. You can order 2 desserts and then maybe we'll just eat a little bit of each one. Like it's all right to splurge. So I do that, but I don't go, oh my gosh, do I get this one or this other one? I can't decide now. I'm not even hungry anymore. Like I don't have that problem. I don't have it with big decisions either. Like which university do I go to? I'm like, they're all the same now because I've overanalyzed the crap out of it.
Well, one thing that's interesting is some questioners say that it's easy. They don't have trouble making big decisions like what profession should I go into? Yeah. But sometimes something like what tent should I buy?
That's funny.
Bike should I buy? Where there's so many options and there's so many kind of like ways you could evaluate and sort and like, and then maybe I should think about this. And I didn't even think about that. And so it can kind of,
you know what it is? It's big decisions have so many different columns on whatever virtual spreadsheet you're making in your head. Yeah. Like you don't go, which is probably another questioner thing, but you like
questioners love a spreadsheet.
We love a good spreadsheet, man. So like a university, you go location, type of study, you know, reputation, blah, blah. There's like 80 different factors. But if you're like, which bike should I buy or which tent should I buy? There's like 4: price, space inside, whatever, how portable it is, durability, and then like there's basic things you have to have, like is it waterproof? But it makes me an easy target for sales guys at camping stores or bike stores because I go, okay, there's like 15 bikes on the wall. They all look the same to me. Which one do I get? And so the unscrupulous one is like definitely the carbon fiber, custom made, you know, graphene, whatever bike thing that's $3,000. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh God, that's more than I wanted to spend. But I'm just thinking, you know, I bet I could have gotten away with like the $1,500 one or the $500 one. But the guy was just like, oh, you're going to trust my expertise. But then, of course, since as a questioner, then I go to a different bike shop and I ask the other guys there. So I'm always like multiple opinions from multiple places. Yes. But I do find myself outsourcing a lot to experts because they know what's important and they know what to ignore. Whereas I actually know that I don't know what's important and I know that I don't know what to ignore. So I'm wondering if when I was younger, I did have analysis paralysis and I've just found systems and ways to cope with it and get around it versus me never having it. And I'm trying to remember and I really can't because I'm 41 and then I like 15 years ago seems like forever now. But when I was a kid, I think I did have trouble making decisions, but I can't think of an example and I can't remember why. And maybe that was why.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about consulting experts, because that's one of kind of the classic strategies, which is to consult an expert opinion, someone whose judgment you trust.
Hmm.
Then you don't feel like you have to like reinvent the wheel. Another
Right.
one is deadlines. Like I'm going to make it, I'm going to make a decision by Friday, because after that, it's not efficient to leave the
Hmm.
question open. Or I'm going to set a limit. Like I'm going to interview 10 people for this job, but not 30 people for this job. Or I'm going to go to 3 tent stores, but not 10 tent stores.
Yeah.
So there are ways that once you realize that you have analysis paralysis, you kind of feel that it's kind of sucking away your time and energy, then you
Yeah.
can use those.
That's a good point. I feel like I'll pick like the top 3 options and then I'll usually kick it to somebody else, like my wife, for example, or even with the bikes. I went to the 2 bike stores. I told my wife what I was looking at. She's like, ooh, that's expensive. And I was like, the other one's less, but the reason that this one's more is because it's lighter. And she goes, oh, well, if you're lifting it all the time. So like I have a second opinion in there.
Right.
And then I feel like, okay, I'm absolved from making the final decision, but she's also not required to do all of the initial research. So it's kind of a good tag team thing, because I'll be like, all right, what do you want to eat? And she's like, I don't know, either Indian food or sushi. And I'm like, oh, sushi sounds good. And she's like, great. And then she picks all the stuff that we order. So I think having 2 questioners is actually pretty good, because you can kind of like, once you trust each other's judgment, you can make certain decisions, then and the other person can make the rest. And then you can't really get mad because you didn't make the final decision. And also it's always fine because it's freaking food,
Right. Right.
But you're right. It is interesting. I think a lot of questioners, like, we do have systems to get around and finish things. Like deadlines is definitely one where even now I go, I want to decide this right now unless there's a compelling reason why we need to wait. Like we better call your uncle. He knows everything about this. He's not around. Okay, fine. We'll wait till we talk to him. But if it's like, what color do you want your gym floor tiles to be in the garage for weightlifting? They have black and they have red. I'm deciding right now. I'm not pushing that off until Saturday and then doing research on which color is going to look nicer. I'm not comparing it to how it looks in photo. Like, I just pick one and that's it, because it's inconsequential. Because otherwise, yeah, I will kick decisions down the road forever. It's like those people who mark all their emails unread. I'm like, no, stop doing that. I'm getting anxiety just thinking about people who do that. Or those people that like have unread text. Part of that is they just don't want to make any kind of commitment. Like, just say no to that thing. You don't want to go. Just decide now. But I had to learn that too, because I was like, oh, I'll decide later. I'll figure it out later. But it's just because I didn't even want to think about it.
Well, it's the decision fatigue, you're right. And also, if you always want to optimize your decision making, that feels like a lot of trouble. And so maybe
So
what you've
much.
decided is it's more efficient to just like make a decision and move on, get it going, don't get it perfect, and like it doesn't really matter. And so don't weigh yourself down.
So my brother-in-law is a questioner for sure. He's an engineer. And he also, it's like debilitating almost, because it's not like OCD debilitating, but it's like, I'll load the dishwasher and he'll go, oh, let me fix that. And he's like optimizing the way the dishes are. And I'm like, they all fit in the first time. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So we call him Optimize Prime, because he will go, we'll buy flights to Las Vegas. And he'll go, oh, I'm going to wait. All right, the price is going to go up. And sometimes it does, but other times he goes, so if you go to this coupon site and then you do this, and then you move that over there, and then you move this over here, and then you sign up for this, and then you put that promo code in, you save $50. And I'm like, it's so not even worth it. But then we kind of have to do it because he's found this like way to do it that takes a little bit of extra time, which was awesome when we were building the house. Because he's like, oh, if you get this faucet that kind of looks like those that you picked, they're from Italy and we got to order them now, but then we can go pick them up at the port from like the shipping container, and they never go through the store, so we save $500. And he did that with like every item in the whole house.
So this is
we
a
saved
good
a lot of money.
example. This is a good example of like how with every tendency, there's an upside and a downside. And usually the upside and the downside are the same.
Yeah.
It's just the context. And so you're like, your constant optimization kind of drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
But kind of saves me a ton of money when it matters.
Right. Like,
and so
it's
it's kind of like
inefficient.
you have to take the good and the bad because he's just being the way that he is.
It's inefficient, but also like, okay, but did we save $30,000 in house fixtures? So was that inefficient, or did we just pay with time?
Well,
right?
see, this is like a subtext with a lot of things that you've been saying, which is you're weighing time and energy and time and money. And that's an interesting kind of questioner I'm going to pay in the way that's most efficient for me. Maybe
Sure.
it's more efficient for me to pay more and save that time and use
Yeah.
my time other ways.
Because like, let's add it all up. Maybe we spent 60 hours optimizing things. Okay, but if we saved $30,000 on house fixtures, that's $500 an hour. That's some real lawyer hourly. That's a high hourly rate for even an attorney. So you're like,
Yes.
that's a good trade.
Yeah.
You know, 60 hours for $500 an hour times 60. Like, sign me
Right.
up for that all day.
Right.
So, but in the beginning, the process always looks like, why are you wasting your time with this? You know, what are you talking about? Saving money on, like, who cares? But then these little things do add up. But you wouldn't want that to be everywhere in your life. So part of the question or dilemma would be, where is it good to question? And where is it good to just be like, okay, screw this. So you're just wasting your time trying to optimize something that doesn't need optimization. Like, just get the haircut or just order the sushi.
And I think that's exactly the way for questioners to do it, is with an appeal to efficiency. It's not efficient to spend more time on this. It's not worth it. And so, because that's kind of the way a questioner like feels most comfortable, because it's not like, you know, like a different tendency might say something like, you deserve a break. Why do you want to spend a beautiful day inside doing research? Like you know, and it's like, but to a questioner's like, if it makes sense for me to do this, I'm happy to sit here and do it. But like, this just doesn't make sense. So if you could say something to people about when they're dealing with a questioner, what is it about people who don't think the way that you do, where you're like, oh my gosh, when like something that you've mentioned a couple of times is when people say things like, this is the way we've always done it.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Clearly is not a winning argument for you.
No.
Are there other things you hear people say, or other ways you see people approaching decisions or tasks where you're like, gosh, I wish I could get those people to do it a different way?
Yeah, there's people who just say, well, this is the easiest way. And it's like, first of all, what does that even mean, right? Does that, like, it's easiest for you right now? Like, what does that even, you know? So I always want to know how they process this. Even if I think the process sucks, I still want to know the process. But if they're like, oh, it's just the easiest way, I'm like, oh, because it's in front of you right now, so you can't expend like the extra 2 whatever iotas of effort required to come up with an alternate way or an alternate method. So I always want to see like how the sausage is made, to go back to that earlier example. Because if I can't tell what the process is, I don't know. I just feel like I can't trust the result, because you just never know what. Yeah, I don't know. Anytime somebody says it's easier, that does sort of trigger me, because I'm like, okay, that could mean anything. If it's the cheapest way, well, obviously somebody's making an economic decision based on how to price this. So why is it so inexpensive? Oh, these break quicker or whatever. Like, I don't want to deal with that. So I always have to know why. And that got me in trouble a lot, obviously, in school. You know, your teacher would go, do this. Here's the first thing I remember getting in trouble for in kindergarten, okay? We'd have a workbook, and it would say, circle all of the words that have a vowel in them. I don't even know, whatever, something like that, right? And I would underline all the words and finish really quick. And the teacher would go, oh, you did this wrong. And I'd be like, nope. And, you know, I'm finished in 2 minutes, and everyone else gets like 15 minutes to do this task. And I'd be like, no, it's right. And then I remember during parent-teacher conferences, they said, the instructions say circle the words, and Jordan is underlining the words. And they're like, but he got them all right, and he finished in half the time or whatever. Yeah, but the instructions say circle. And I'm like, but you just want me to indicate the right answer, right? It doesn't matter if it's circled or underlined.
Wait, so this is you as a kindergartner? Because this is so questioner.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, it's more efficient. But here,
Yes.
let me challenge you. If a teacher had said to you like, hey, Jordan, I know you think it seems ridiculous that we're asking you to circle these because it's taking you more time, but we're really developing this tiny muscles of your hand. And by asking you to circle those, we're doing 2 things at once. We're working on your reading and we're working on your hands. And this is going to be a very important skill and ability for you to do. So we've constructed this very efficiently, because now you're working on 2 things at once. And next year, when you're working on your handwriting, you're going to have that hand strength and that hand dexterity already done.
Yeah.
What would have been your response?
I would have circled everything. No problem.
Right?
Circles all day. Yeah. Yeah. Circles all day.
This is the thing, is so often questioners are literally like, if you tell me that you've thought this through, I can get on board. But if this is just nonsense and
It's
you're
nonsense.
just wasting my time.
wasting number 2 pencil lead circling something when I
And
could
all
have
these
underlined it.
kids, why are they such lemmings that they're just there?
Yes.
Like, instead of me going to the block table.
Yes, exactly. You could play when you were done. So I'd be done and they'd be like, you're not done yet. What is missing? And I'm like, nothing. It's all correct. And then it's like, oh, it says circle instead. I don't know. I still remember it because my mom tells me, why couldn't you just circle the things? And I'm like, because it's dumb and there was no point. And she's like, that's true. You know, she has to sort of concede that. The other thing I got in trouble for, I took kindergarten twice, in part because of these types of little things. One of the other things, and it was funny because they had a reading class. It was a split class. It was first grade and kindergarten. I could read the whole book for the first graders, cover to cover, in about, 10 minutes. They were spending like the whole year reading this book. It was called Sun Up, and it was about as complicated as you would imagine. See the dog jump over the ball type thing. And so I was held back in kindergarten again, and it was one of the reasons was because of me questioning everything or not doing things exactly as they wanted. But the other thing was, and my mom brings this up, she brought it up recently, that's why I know about it. I guess I had to construct like something out of blocks to show that I could follow instructions. And outside that day, there was a kid who had decided to bring his trumpet and play the trumpet in full view of the classroom. And I was like, what's that noise out there? Why does he have a trumpet? And they were like, just pay attention to the blocks. I remember my mom was like, honey, just build the block house or whatever. And I'm like, but why is he playing the why is that? What's that noise out there? What's going on? And my mom was just like, oh my gosh, he's going to be in kindergarten until he's 40. So I would not do the block thing until they told me why there was a guy outside with a trumpet. What is that? And no one would answer me. And my whole life has been punctuated by these kinds of things. And sometimes it's been a massive advantage. But yeah, early in my life when people didn't want to hear what kids wanted, then it wasn't. But like when I took the bar exam and things like that, I mean, it was a huge, huge, huge advantage because they want questioners. When you're little, they don't want to hear from you. But when you're a lawyer, they want you to question everything and question all the assumptions. And it came in really handy for a lot of those sort of career moves.
Well, again, it's one of these things where something can serve you very well at one time or in some context, but in another time or context, it can be an issue. And so part of it is like learning how to work with it. But I have to say, it's very, very poignant to me. I've heard so many stories from questioners where if somebody had taken 5 minutes
oh my gosh,
and given a solid, thoughtful explanation to a child, I think the child would have gone along no problem. And instead they set the child up to really where they're like, I simply cannot in good conscience go along with the system that you people have created here. They don't understand what adults understand. And if an adult would kind of explain it to them,
it's true.
Yeah.
It's like showing your work in math class. I used to not do that. And then finally a teacher said, I need to see your work because if you get the wrong result, I can go back through your process and I can find where you're making a mistake. And also, if you show your work and you get the wrong answer, but the process was correct and it's just a calculation error, I'm barely going to take off any points for that because really the whole point is to go through the right process. And I was like, great. So I had no problem showing my work all through high school because the teacher took the time to explain that. But all through middle school, it was like, oh, you're not showing your work. And I'm like, that's because I can do the whole thing in my head.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is that noise?
That is the siren of my building. Welcome to New York City. There, somebody turned it off. Yeah.
Just making sure you don't have to go outside.
No. It's somebody left the front door of my building ajar. Well, this has been fascinating because I think that you are speaking for many questioners.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps people who are not questioners, like I'm not a questioner, to understand why it's worth us taking the time to, like you say, show our work. And that's really been a big theme here that I've heard from you, is that you want others to show their work and you're willing to show your work, because that's how we all understand that we're arriving at the best answer using the best system.
It's
because
true.
Just knowing the answer doesn't really tell you what you need to know as a questioner or any of us. We should all benefit from this.
What is that study that they did where people want to cut in line to make copies? And when they just ask if they can cut in line, everyone says no. But when they say, because I want copies, everyone's like the dumbest reason. They're like, okay. So I feel like everyone has that little bit of questioner in them, because if I say, can I cut in line? I'm like, no. But if they're like, can I cut in line? I'm in a hurry, or I need copies, or I'm thirsty. I'm like, we've all been thirsty. Go ahead and cut in front of me. I'm not thirsty. You know, it's like irrelevant, and yet that worked so much of the time. So I feel like questioner, like we all have a little bit in there. Like there's a little bit of that pattern in our brain, no matter what.
We all want reasons. None of us wants to do things that are totally unjustified or arbitrary. But for a questioner, it's really like, if they don't see it, they're not going to go along to a much greater degree, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, this was wonderful. It's been, you showed so much insight into this. I think it's going to be really, really helpful for people who are questioners or who are trying to understand how to live and work more effectively with questioners. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to listen to the next episode of the Jordan Harbinger Show.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me on. This is fun. I didn't even think about all these things until today. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm not alone. And it's a real thing.
Absolutely. Thanks.